Hi, my name's Phil. I like to talk about politics. So another day, another industry knackered by Brexit. Now we're seeing reports that of all things, Brexit is going to stuff our sausages as well. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news in politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So I remember when I was growing up watching a political comedy that I may have mentioned from time to time called Yes Minister. Absolutely cracking introduction to politics in the UK. And the final special, before it became Yes Prime Minister, invoked an EC-based story around sausages. And now it seems the story is coming back to haunt us because the EU will be requiring all meat preparations from outside the European Economic Area, which is going to include us in a few months, to be frozen. This has, it seems, huge ramifications for producers of meat products in the UK. Now, the obvious thought here is it means more expensive trade with the EU. Well done, Brexit, you've knackered another part of our economy, but the British Meat Processors Association has a rather more tricky situation to talk about because there's that trade between Britain and Northern Ireland. Northern Ireland will remain in the European Economic Area, won't it? Remain in the customs union. So never mind Boris Johnson's constant crap about frictionless trade between Britain and Northern Ireland. It's not happening. You know, not only will there need to be checks at the border inside the UK and customs declarations prepared, all the rest of it, but steak pies are going to need to be frozen or they will not be allowed across the border. And as far as the industry is concerned, Boris Johnson is going to have to negotiate an exemption, from this rule as part of the Brexit deal. That is just all there is to it. There's no other way around it. I'll tell you something. If, like me, you've read various accounts of lots of different industries all talking about what the government need to negotiate, we need X, Y, and Z for our industry to be able to survive as part of a deal. The government have a right shopping list of exemptions to persuade the EU to grant. Now, I'm going to be honest, when you consider the time left and the lack of progress made, I can't see many of those exemptions appearing in the final deal. Assuming we even get a deal in the next few weeks, right now, many businesses may be imagining that the government may indeed negotiate these exemptions. Sure, they're all coming out and warning about the consequences if they don't. They're all explaining, right, this is how Brexit is going to affect us. Their organisations representing them will be filtering it back to individual business owners. This is how Brexit's going to affect you. This is what we're trying to do to lobby the government to make some exemptions here. They may not see the larger picture of the exemptions that every single sector of our economy is seeking, which will be impossible to negotiate because unless we have a much closer Brexit than the one the government are pursuing, the EU are not going to, because it would be asking the EU to give us all the benefits of membership with none of the hassle. That's just not how it works. And what's going to happen, there's going to come a point where they realise that their industry, their part of the economy, isn't going to get the exemptions it needs. When they realise that they're going to face the full downsides of trading as a third country. But anyway, back to sausages and meat pies. And the Financial Times was reporting that it had raised the issue with EU negotiators, the government that is, had raised the issue with EU negotiators, but they couldn't say that they were confident that such an exemption would be granted. Of course not. Of course not. Because they will have been given a list of exemptions as long as your arm by all the different sectors of the UK economy. Right now, I don't think we can be confident of getting any, because if we don't get a deal, of course we don't get any exemptions, unless the EU would just like to be extremely kind for no reason, nothing that benefits themselves. The issue, the one major issue with this particular one, with the meat products, is apparently we do not have the capacity in the UK to freeze that much food. The Cold Chain Federation said that we had a particular problem with freezer capacity in the UK. Just in general, it's an actual problem. We don't have enough, but it's one that's been particularly badly exposed by Brexit, it seems. So it isn't even an issue of desire or not. Do we want to freeze our meat products? Is it the cost? It's not so much just to do with that. We do not have the capacity. So for the meat products that we currently trade, we simply don't have the capacity to comply with the rules that are going to take effect from the 1st of January 2021. So that's trade that will just have to be abandoned. Simple as that. It's gone. The government also, when they were talking about this, used the word opportunity again in their non-statement on this issue. Now, this is what Boris Johnson and Michael Gove have both pushed quite a lot. The idea that businesses should seek the opportunities in Brexit. If your business failed, it's because you failed to identify the opportunities in the changes. Yet neither of them has been able to communicate any of these opportunities. Not so much as a hypothetical example has been uttered. I can understand they can't say every opportunity for every business, but a hypothetical at least, could you not give some example of some opportunity that some business somewhere in the UK could seize? No? You can't even think of one. All right then. And this blinkered approach to Brexit, this failure to recognise realities, could that mean that Brexit hits us even harder than predicted? That's what I'm constantly thinking. So when you look at the economic modelling, that suggests that a full free trade agreement with the EU will knock 3.7% off our GDP. That's a free trade agreement. That's the best we can hope for. Hits our GDP by 3.7%. That's more than COVID over a number of years. That's jobs lost, lower wages for the people who remain in employment. It's got to remember that. Whenever you talk about a lot of unemployment, like the mass unemployment we may be heading for, it's still going to represent the majority of people in work. Even when unemployment is really high, the majority are always still in work. So you think, well, the majority are still all right then, are they? Are they? Because when workers are a lot easier to find because there's plenty unemployed and wanting a job, that allows employers to suppress wages and working conditions. It makes it a lot harder as a worker to be able to get decent wages and working conditions. Because do you know what? If you're going to be a bit finicky, there's 100 people waiting in line for that job. And that's with a deal. That is with a deal. Without a deal, it's worse, of course. 5.7% knocked off our GDP. But what this highlights is just how important it was to have stayed closely aligned with the EU, to have maintained the customs union, full access to the single market. All of this wouldn't be discussed then. None of this would be an issue for these businesses. But there would be other issues, but at least it wouldn't be that. But will those figures really be that low? I constantly think to myself, I'm not going to be one of these people who goes, economists don't know how to predict anything. No, of course they do. Of course they do. We wouldn't make money if they didn't. But how do you model, for example, completely useless handling of the economy? How do you model a government that's been led by ideology and a frenzied need to shovel billions of pounds of public money, as much as they can, into the hands of private Tory donors and friends? If the figures assume, for example, a standard level of competency in the handling of the economy, could the real impact actually be much worse? After all, who would have predicted that the UK economy would have done as badly as it's done during the coronavirus pandemic? Much worse than comparable nations in the G7. Now, partly this is due to the makeup of our economy. We are very, very dependent upon the service industries, and that hit us very badly. Now, that was known, and economists did take that into account. They knew it was a particular risk for the UK. Of course, that same weakness in the UK economy is also going to be badly exposed by Brexit as well. But we handled the economy even less well than we could have done, so we did even worse. Even given how our GDP is made up, as other countries have shown, if you tackle COVID hard and early, you actually preserve your economy as best you can. If you leave things late, if you stick your head in the sand, then your economy suffers much more. And what is Brexit if not an exercise in sticking your head in the sand? But there we are. No doubt there'll be more and more frequent tales of woe from industries over the next few weeks as the terms of Brexit become apparent. If a deal is announced, obviously each industry will then want to comb through the particulars, the details, to see what they get. And I suppose it would be rather quicker to go through the sectors that actually get something than it will those who get nothing. I think the vast majority are going to realise that they will get nothing from the deal. And given the government's attitude so far, I'm not sure the food industry is really going to get much attention. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. If you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.